open day. It's not a rally. What they do is they get all the vehicles that they can, whether they're working or not, out of the buildings, on display, buses, steam engines, military vehicles, you name it, tractors, stationary engines, a lot. And the railway, the 2-foot gauge Great Bush Railway and the miniature railway, which is the same as the one on the field here today, they'll be running, and you're able to have traction engine trailer rides around the field. But it's not a rally, it's simply an open day to show off the collection. And so you're very welcome to come along. I forget the price, it's very reasonable. The 27th of September, Jeswick Trust Open Day, had no doubt. And that really would be the end of the rally season, except that the day after that there'll be some of these engines there stationary, standing still, not running about like today. But the next day they're off on a road run going from Hadlow down to Waldron, where we gather in the centre of the little village, and that's become quite a rally in itself. But if you're interested in going to that, or taking position up on the road somewhere, not blocking it with your car, but taking position up, there's plenty of opportunities to see steam engines on the road, on the country roads, not blocking the main roads. And yeah, a good day in Waldron up at the Star Inn. That's the day after, so that'll be the 28th of September. That really will be the end of the season. Right, I think we're just, the last one's leaving the arena now, and we can then get the Bedford TK with the beaver tail body coming into the arena as the first of the commercials.
You want to sit up here? I'm just about to get up. Yeah. You are? No, I'm just going to stand up, get a better view.
Okay, John, you can bring them in. Lionheart's just leaving, so they can come in now, mate.
Okay, so here we have the commercial vehicle representatives, and it is some good ones. When you look at the 1973 Bedford TK, that was something you had seen on the highway back in the day. Now, of course, this one may well have started out as a long wheelbase flatbed, or even the tipper, which was ideal for the builders who loved the Bedford TK tippers, but it's got a second life. It's used now as a beaver tail. We follow that with the Green Goddess. Now, Bedford, when they took on the role of doing these for the Home Office, these were a fleet in their south. When they were sold off back some years ago, they were actually sold with only about 2,000 or 3,000 miles on the clock. The only time they ever saw service was when they came out on the fire brigade strikes, and they actually had to have a police escort. So we're going to talk a little bit more about those. We got the Bedford OW series, I think it is, the little 3 to 4 ton tipper lorry there. And of course, Bedford made a very, very good name for themselves in the day when they produced that. The Ford Angular van, look at the condition that one is in. And that advertises names of the past there with Castro. Dating from 1968 there, it's got a London number plate. GJ is London. Now the Ford pickup, of course, America, they love their Fords. And this vehicle was something which was a very popular American vehicle, and dates there from, I think, about 1952. Now the Ford E87W, I think that is, belonging to the Williams family. And look at the quality of that vehicle. Now that vehicle had a little side valve engine under the bonnet, the size of a shoebox. And of course, you know, a very economical vehicle in its day, and a very, very nice thing to restore. It's not oversized, all the parts are available, and of course, you know, a very, very nice vehicle, the Ford E83W. Now the little Austin A30 van, now the painters loved these, so did the baker, and of course the grocer, and they were a very interesting vehicle because not only did they do those in van form, but they also done what they call a countryman version, which included side windows. And of course they, you know, back in those days, they still had the semaphore indicator system on the side of the vehicle, and we're hoping to get there it is, he's doing a demo. A semaphore comes out the side of the Austin A30 van there, and you can see that little light contained within it. Now, The next one I think is Bedford T-Owl, which was a follow-on from the TK. And of course the T-Owl there dating from 1982. Very, very nice vehicle indeed. A lot of these vehicles are very popular as coal lorries. And of course if you had a flatbed version of that, that would be the days when the coal man actually used to come round to the house and deliver door to door for you. Now the Bedford, I think this might be the S-type, very nice horse box conversion on there in the livery of PR Croft. Now obviously it's got some connection to Hampshire because it's got a PX in the number plate, which denotes from the Portsmouth area. And then we've got that lovely little Bedford. Now of course this Bedford is very special because if you cast your mind back to the Scammell three-wheel Scarabs, they used to work for British Railways back in the British Railways days. They developed, Scammell did, a unique hitch that was operated by lever, and as the tractor unit reversed on a trailer, it locked on. And this is actually fitted with the Scammell hitching system, and you can see a very good example there of it. Now the Bedford series here, this is amazing. We were looking at this yesterday actually. When you think that the blue Bedford here has only about 28 horsepower and did the job of road transport back in the day, you've got to look at our modern stuff nowadays, the Volvo and the likes of stuff like that, it's running at 600 horsepower and it's still running along the highway. Excuse me a moment.
Going around the back at the moment while John's attending to something there is an Austin K9, which, not K9 at Doctor Who, no, an Austin K9 which is really a military vehicle, and we had an example of one similar in this morning. This one, a lot of them went off into civilian use, so I think this one went as a farm lorry, but it's been converted to 3 axles. Which they never were, so it's actually got an extra axle thing. And a lot of people like Portsmouth and other companies used to go into 3-axle conversion. And it's remarkable time enough that I just finished off to talk about this Scammell, thank you, because he's come in the man himself. Is this the original sales notebook? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Wow. I'll just get the glasses on here.
That's exactly what I said, David. I tried to read it out and it really got the glasses. What a fascinating vehicle, isn't it? Because it is over 100 years old. I think we worked out yesterday.
1923. The drive by Thomas Allen, from Wobbling High Street, it was £1,000. That's a lot of money. It was, a copy of the original sales order from August 1923. This car would be the 7-litre, 4-cylinder petrol engine. Garden engine didn't come in as diesel until about 10 years later. And it's one of the first ever Arctics. It hasn't got a trailer with it today, but as John's already talked about, the Scammell automatic coupling, which you can bank on and pull a trailer away and then drop it without even having to get out the cab. Now we've got, and has for a long time, what we call a standard 5th wheel coupling on all the modern Arctics today. But the very first articulators were the Scammells, but they were permanent. You didn't take the trailer on and off. The articulation was simply a means of getting maximum payload in a minimum space. And it's got a thing on the back, between the wheels at the back. It looks like a big inverted dust in there. But that's where the trailer turntable was. So that was unique at that time. Very early on, Scammell were the first to go into heavy haulage. They were the first company based in Oxford to introduce their Scammell 100 tonners. And it looked very similar to that. A little bit bigger obviously, and they were designed for heavy haulage. To take steam engines and we used to sell things abroad, and our engines went all over the world, and they needed to take something weighing nearly 100 tons to the docks. So they produced the 100 ton, first 100 ton heavy haulage engine. They were used by such famous companies as Norman Box, Glasgow, and I need to disappear that back. I'm sure that you can see it as it's going round. It's chain driven, just like the steam engine.
That was good.
Chain driven, like the steam lorries, because at that time, the only other lorries were steam lorries, and they were chain driven as well. Possibly, from the chassis number, I'm told it's possibly the oldest existing Scamel, and therefore, he said to him, the general manager, confirmed the basis of an interesting article. Well, that has been done. It's a very we can't supply detailed information, but nevertheless has the facts all of interest. It's 16 tons, and it's got the tyre sizes, but it's got a wooden cab and the very, very basic instrumentation. I think it's just a speedometer, nothing else. Ratchet handbrake, double clutch, crash gearbox, tough one to drive. Alan Stiller has that from Hanno down, and he's brought it on today. It's so pleased to see it.
And no power steering.
No power steering, no. Not much in the way of suspension either, kind of that.
David, I missed the fire engine here actually as it came through. Now we've got this lovely Land Rover, big this is Series 2B, and of course these are the days when you would have this fire engine as a chassis cab. It would then be bodied with either a HCV Angus or Carmichael body to get what you see in front of us today. And of course they were popular because being four-wheel drive, they would go anywhere to get you onto some of the forestry stuff where two-wheel drive and larger fire engines are inaccessible. But a very nice vehicle, I can say nice fancy number plate there, related to Portsmouth 1971, and you don't see many of them in preservation. How do I go? It's like that. It's not a problem. It's a bit of a concept vehicle. It's successful to a point, but they didn't produce the full amount of them because it's a bit underpowered and the cruising not facing backwards. But apart from that, it's a very successful vehicle. A very, very interesting vehicle, of course. And the Land Rover story started some 79 years ago. It's one of Britain's best commercial stories and vehicles ever. And it all started from a little story on the beach in Anglesey. Look it up on the internet. It will tell you how it all started. A little drawing in the sand. Now, where's my friend David? You go come and join me, my friend. Oh, you're reading an orange. Anyway, some of the vehicles that fly what is that then? Yeah, we did have a chance to sort of look at.
After the tangerine right there.
Was the magnificent trio of Bedford.
Oh yeah, Bedford.
Yeah, the Bedford made such a name for their Southwood commercial vehicles. And when you include these two as well, you've got a lineup of five.
Absolutely. This is the history of Bedford, isn't it? We've got the earliest one is the Wartime, the OW, with that very angular. The idea was to use less. I don't think it did use less petrol. Looking at the standard overtime, I really don't know why they went. They said that was a utility design. Well, certainly utility in appearance compared to the O series, which was coming on just before the war. And we had the very earliest example of the O series Bedford just post-war, and then we go up to what used to be called the Big Bedford, the S-type. One of my favourite features was the Big Bedford, love it. And of course, the Crump family from Brightley, they're here, and we've got the Bedford TM, isn't it? Yeah, go ahead.
Now, when we talk about metal, after World War II, there wasn't such a shortage of metal, of course.
Yeah.
And that is why Land Rovers were made of aluminium. There was an abundance of aluminium left from the aircraft days, and that's why Land Rovers came out as aluminium. But when you think shortage of metal, some of these manufacturers actually put ribbon into their vehicles, including like the Citroen H-Back, the little French vehicle, and that had ribs all the way through the bodywork. But you can see an example of this on the Bedford. By ribbing the bodywork, it made that thin metal much stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. Bedford, the lovely, the Bedford Drivers Club badge on the front, but I just remember in Eastbourne, the main Bedford dealer in Eastbourne was Stansfield. And they did very good business because we had Hall & Co's, whose head office was in Croydon. We had a big ballast people excavating the beaches for Eastbourne. Then we had F. Avon, the major company was had a fleet of tippers, all Bedfords. So we had leeches who had Bedfords, owners who had Bedfords, Rosie Ford who I worked for who had Bedfords. And then everybody in Eastbourne had Bedfords. We didn't have many heavy lorries, only the ones that I had to unload when they come down the wall, but they were really the masters. The slogan that you'll remember this, Bedfords, you'll see them everywhere. And you did, because they're remarkable. Again, the other thing is the remarkable difference in the body styles. Little five cubic yard tipper, although it's got, I like that, with a sack load in the back, that's very realistic.
That's our next lorry, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the restoration of this vehicle. Now these guys dig very, very deep in their pockets to actually restore a vehicle of this quality. Now, you look at something like a bill, they're about thousands spent on them, David, absolutely thousands. But look at the quality of the restoration. But then you can look at a vehicle that is in its working clothes, but it's mechanically fine, and you can say that sometimes is the way to go. But sometimes you just got to try and work these guys out.
I like the fact that Drury, the Bedfords here, Mr. Croft has got a lovely bit of lining on that. Those horse-box bodies were hand-built coats for our bodies. You know, really special things in themselves. That's got a nice little bit of lining on it and a nice two-tone brown finish. But most lorries were just, but that's because it's got a reputation as a really big still. Working in cattle haulage today, that firm. In fact, you've seen Mr. Croft going through the town on every Wednesday virtually, when he's doing Ball Road. But these are just in their working clothes, clean, admittedly, yes, clean. But there's no brass bits and curly cues and that on them. They're as they would have worked. You see these lorries on the road with a load like that going through, or the he's going back to the railway depot to collect another trailer. This one's probably off to collect a load from the local ironmongers or something. It's just as I remember them, and it's lovely to see them today.
Now, David, when you look at this lorry belonging to Crops, now the sign writing would have included the work of the lining out. And of course, it would take probably a week to do a vehicle of this quality with the amount of signs.
There's very few left, but we have. I just want to mention that the best sign writers were the ones that worked for the showmen with their colours. And if you go down and see the example of what it's like, should be like, go and see Harris's Fair, go and see Harley Harris with his juvenile sunboats, and they're all hand painted. He is an expert sign writer. And you can see the sign writers are taken to the nth degree with down at Harris's. When I had with my son, the AC Mandator, we didn't have any lining on it. It was a 1959 lorry. By that sort of time, something gone out. You're making a statement with that, aren't you? This is a good, solid, traditional company. Yes.
Right, let's go and have a look at Land Rover. Now, of course, when the Land Rover story started 79 years ago on a beach in Anglesey, Wales, Thomas Wilkes, who was operations director for Rover in Coventry, they were also fathers to his brother, and they looked at their old World War II surplus Willis and said, what can we do to replace it? Well, the answer was they drew in the sand, and before you knew it, they came up with an idea. Now, at that time, roads were operating out of a brick camouflaged building up there in Coventry, and they made use of the Willis of the 2.25 engine that went into the very first Land Rovers. The Series 1 was born after 2 or 3 prototypes, but the prototypes looked like the Willys G. But anyway, when we talk Land Rover, we saw the Series 1, we saw Series 2, we saw Series 3. In a motor lot was a lightweight requirement from the Army. There's something that could be air portable on occasion, something you can put on a pallet and chuck it out the back of a Hercules aircraft. And that was the result. The Series 2 or 3...
That made him jump.
So here we have an example dates from around about 1970 something, 76. And if you want to know what the original Army number plate was, they don't call them number plates, they call them index markings. You very often find them stamped in the pillar on an Army vehicle. You can look on all the Army lorries, you will find its original number plate. Did you find it anywhere, my friend?
One of the miniature steam engines going past blowing his whistle.
I've got my glasses with me in my pocket, but it will be in there somewhere. It will give you a little bit of homework to do, is to find out its original Army index number. Now the Army used a system which is unlike anything other, because when the Army put one index mark on there, they attach the same one-ton trailer, and it will have a second index mark, totally different to the vehicle. Whereas you and I, if we tow a vehicle, we've got to have the same number plate on there. But with the Army, no, that's how they do it. Anyway, Series 3, lightweight, 1976, lovely vehicle. But anyway, we mentioned you've got a lovely local number plate, haven't you, on that one? So, what do you know about sort of news?
They run the vehicle from around Farm area, so people delivering turf and coal.
Tammy, did you do the restoration? What a credit, it's fantastic. I was going to say, I take my hat off to any of you guys who do the restoration with what you do, the amount of hours that all of you put into your vehicles. And this we absolutely love, because we've been talking about Scamble today as a company, and how the Scamble scammers used to hook onto the British Railway trailers, and it was a real multi-function vehicle. But you've got the same hookup on the back of this one, haven't you? That's what the Scamble used to use. That was an invention in itself, wasn't it? It certainly shifted some of those days. Yeah, I'm just going to sort of walk through the lineup. We've mentioned the two top vehicles here. Very, very nice indeed. Like I say, if you had a bit of a key out, the chance you like in a scaffold car even day, or a combat. So was this originally thought with this horse box? So you had a body of the horse box, didn't you? That's nice. Very, very nice vehicle, lovely. But as you see, we've got so many in the lineup and a good representation of what these guys have built. Now when we talk about vehicles being left in their working clothes, look at this one, and of course the Florence stuff to it. And it's 35, isn't it? Good testing. I'm not very good at maths. Anyway, the A35 van, a product with the British Motor Corporation up there, which encompasses Austin, Morris, Wolseley, Riley, Jaguar and Rover. What an empire that was in its day. But they produced this little thing. And of course, 7.4 indicators. All the rays running. Give us a right hand. 7.4. Yeah. Did it sit? There it is. There we are. The right hand 7.4 comes out the side of the van, just like that. And that is how they used to indicate those days. And they will work on electromagnet. But if there's ever a case for leaving that, it's working clothes. Good example. I don't know my main name is probably around the back. We mentioned the fire engine, the lovely Ford E83W, a very, very useful van. If you ever get a chance to see the monitor, the engine in there's a little tiny side engine, not much bigger than a shoebox. And the Ford. Now, I'm going to hang my hammer now because I didn't know anything about some of the American vehicles. I take it it's like 1950 something. Is it easy enough to get spares being American?
Yeah, most of the parts are available. So that's still free. They come over. It didn't have 6-volt electric, so we know it's okay. And we come out of the factory with only one tail light. That's all they need to do. So that's rewiring, so that's 12 volts.
But all the American businesses loved them, didn't they? It was such a useful utilitarian vehicle. But then look at this for a restoration. Now, I Anyway, nice to see you, Tipper. We're going to meet you guys again at 45 for the emergency services. And nice to see you again. I'll let you more of it going to the stone end. Nice to see you around. Right, thank you everyone. Now, as long as you go do a circuit and then back to the parking area, we've then got the cars coming up, and then we've got the emergency vehicles everything.
Right, I've been asked by one of the organisers of the show to give a special thank you to the marshals who've been helping these vehicles coming in and out of the arena all day, making sure our lovely general public who come to see them all are safe, and all our marshals, in fact pretty well everybody here, are volunteers, because the idea is, and we're showing it this time with the lovely sunshine we've been having, they've done a great job, we've had some beautiful sunshine, and yeah, so they're all volunteers. So thanks, great thanks to all the marshals who've helped to do this and get the vehicles in and out of the arena on time, because we're now pretty well back on time, and it takes an effort, doesn't just do it all by itself. Thanks to all our volunteers today, but a special big thank you. You're not going home, no, we're not going to go home, just got to get to. But I want to say, on behalf of the country, that's the way it is. On and off for 50 years now, how lovely it is to have this beautiful weather and to see so many of you here enjoying yourselves on a beautiful summer's day and contributing as you are doing by coming here today to the charity. Because even if you're buying things from the stores, you take home, the store holders obviously play a big thing too. To the organisers, so all the money goes into the pot, and we have to do a big pot with loads of set out, not just things like coal, but tent hire and toilet, insurance, we all insurance up about 5 million quid. You've got the security on site overnight and everything else, so there's a lot to pay out for before we can hope to go into profit. And this weekend I'm sure we will be in profit, and when I say we, I'm talking about the FOT facility, the charity that runs the place, and all that will go to these charities, and things like the local church, the local city hall, the local scout group, the Suffolk Kent Air Ambulance, all of these are properties of us, all national life institutions, and we're all always contributing, coming through the gates and everything today, and going towards those local charities. That's true. Anyway, I'm pretty well rolled up now. We're going to go over back to John, who's going to talk about the fire engines. I think now, I'm not sure, from the friend now, because the car is here. But thank you, John, who's come all the way up from down there showing me to do the commentary. My work was going particularly, so I could have done it without it. I'll be back tomorrow, John. Thank you very much, John. And on with the show, as they say, so listen out.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you. Just want to 20 on goes behind all the guys up on the street. My lovely said, anyway, the car station, I think we are in more surprises now. Because the one that heads up the queue at the moment is the Humble System 2CB. Now, I love this vehicle because it's got a very unique design feature. It was designed so that at its front you can put all the eggs on the back of it, and you can take this vehicle across a cloud sea. So if you go nice and slowly, you can understand to go at the moment. And this vehicle, it's got chairs, but like deck chairs. It's got a sunroof for actually one. The first thing is actually like this. And you can take it back. It's a very Now, this vehicle here, I failed to note what it was, MG, of course, for the product of Morris Garrison. And Morris Garrison